We know that 1 in 6 people is touched by adoption and that 1 in 20 people is adopted. After World War II, secrecy and stigma permeated adoption and framed how we talk about it. Birth mothers were shamed and told to get on with their lives. Adoptive mothers were lauded for taking in a child whose heredity was questionable. Adoptees had their original birth certificate sealed to conceal the stain of their illegitimacy and to give them a fresh start. So what happens when these worlds collide and these women get to tell their stories and learn about each other's? Hopefully something powerful. Imagine being a middle-class white woman who struggled with infertility. You needed to prove to doctors, lawyers, and social workers that you would be a better mother. You raised and nurtured your child to adulthood only to have her search for her other mother. Now, imagine disclosing that this child was a last resort, that you worried she would be slutty like the woman who bore her, and that you didn't immediately fall in love with her, all while knowing that your adopted daughter and her birth mother will learn these things about you. Imagine being a teenager who became pregnant outside the confines of marriage. You were sent away so your family could keep up a pretense of respectability. You were coerced into relinquishing your parental rights. Now, imagine disclosing that you grieved every day in silence and in secrecy, that you experienced secondary infertility and you couldn't get pregnant after you married later in life, and that you were coerced into relinquishing your parental rights. Sorry. Now, imagine Sorry. Oh, and that imagine that meeting your daughter in later in life, you were disappointed in the woman she's become, all while knowing that her adoptive mother and your birth daughter would learn these things about you. Imagine being a grown woman who has a manufactured past. You know very little about your history and are told withholding it is in your best interest. You've spent your life writing adopted across the family history section of medical forms. You've heard more times than you can count that you must be grateful to have been adopted. Now, imagine disclosing that you struggled with thoughts of suicide throughout adolescence, that you sabotage your adult relationships because it's best to reject them before they reject you, and that you feel you were bought, all while knowing that your adoptive mother and your birth mother will learn these things about you. Adoption literature is filled with the voices of birth mothers, adoptive mothers, and adoptees from disparate adoption groups. We don't know anything about how women from the same adoption constellation experience the same life events. Oh, I'm done, sorry.